Probably a good thing we can't see the commissioners.
I guess so. All right. Well, good morning. Today is Tuesday, March 17th. It is 8:30 a.m. and I'm going to start with a few opening comments. First, thank everyone for their flexibility. Thank you, staff. Thank you, DeVos Place. And if someone would have told me 2 weeks ago my most valued possessions would be my toilet paper and my hand sanitizer, I would have lost a lot of money. So we are operating under, of course, unusual circumstances with the virus and being safe and precautious and operating within the law in order to continue to conduct county business. So here we are in DeVos Place with everyone 6 feet apart, including members of the public. And I want to just do some housekeeping items. So we do have Zoom, which members of the public can use to be part of the meeting. We have call-ins, which people can use for public comment. So just for the call-ins, you will shortly have an opportunity for public comment, but then you will be muted. So those on the phone will not be able to speak after public comment. And I just wanted you to know you'll be listening but not participating, which is how we hold our regular meetings. I also want the commissioners to know to please pull your microphones closer to you when you speak. The audio tech made it perfectly clear. If you are not speaking into the microphone, it will not pick up. So if you can pull closer when you speak, that would be most appreciated. So with that, we will move to public comment. Let me start with those on the phone. Is there public comment from the phone? Please give your name and your address. No public comment from the phone? Hang on. No. Okay. So we will go with Harold. Are you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you don't have any public comment?
I will not be able to speak in the meeting.
No, you cannot speak in the meeting, but you can speak now, Harold.
Well, I'm just thankful that everybody made it possible for all of us out that cannot be there in person, that we can participate and listen to and hear what's going on. I just wanted to speak in favor of the Airport Authority revenue bonds. I've supported the bonds, and so I'll just speak out in favor of that. And thank you, Madam Chair, and everybody for the opportunity to do this remote.
All right. And I will tell you, Harold, per council, as a board member, you can speak during the meeting, but you can't vote. So if you
okay, can I make motion?
No, you cannot make a motion.
Okay.
But if you have comments or questions as a board member, you can ask comments or questions during the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I believe we have the airport on the phone. Do they have any public comment?
No public comments at this time from the airport. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to move now to the public that's at the meeting. All right. There is no one. Commissioner Sparks, did you have a question?
I did, Madam Chair. Do we need to take roll?
No, we don't take roll at finance meetings.
Sorry.
That's okay. So there's no public comment from those attending the meeting, and we've covered the public comment from the phone, which there isn't any, but we've concluded that Commissioner Voorhees, who is a board member, if he has questions, can interject during the meeting to be recognized for questions and discussion. So with that, I'm going to move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Questions, comments, discussion, anything that has to be pulled? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 3 from Fiscal Services. Wayman?
Yes, this is a request of the board to approve the execution of a general indemnity agreement in connection with obtaining a surety bond related to the sale of energy to Consumers Energy Company. The county public into a 20-year power purchase agreement with Consumers Energy Company for the DPW to sell and consumers to purchase energy generated at the DPW's mass burn incinerator plant. The PP agreement requires that consumers be provided a surety bond in the amount of $1.6 million, securing the BPW's obligation to sell energy to consumers pursuant to the PP agreement. Proposals to provide the surety bond have been obtained and reviewed, and it is determined that the proposal of Swiss RE Corporate Solutions through North American Specialty Insurance Company best meets the requirements for providing the required security bond. A requirement for the issuance of surety bond is for Kent County to execute a general indemnity agreement, which is hereby referred to and made part thereof.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, any questions, comments, or discussion? Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
A quick question and then a comment. What's the cost of this bond? I know the amount is $1.6 million, but
Jeff. What up, Jeff?
It's $4.50 per thousand, so about $7,500 a year.
all right. So so that's my question. So $7,500 to pledge this payment if we stop generating electricity. And so as I noted at the Board of Public Works, and as Treasurer Parrish pointed out last week, the Board of Public Works has $88 million in the bank. And I understand that that money's pledged to all different things, but we have $88 million in the bank, and we have to spend $7,500 in case we have to make good on this. I just continue to find this ridiculous. I know it was part of the negotiations. This is not at all a critique of our staff. It's just, we might as well throw the $7,500 in the incinerator, but I will be voting yes nonetheless.
Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 4 from the Gerald R. Ford International Airport Authority. Wayman?
Yes, this is a request to the commissioners to authorize the issuance of a Gerald R. Ford International Airport Authority Revenue Bond Series 2020. The authority is authorized under Act 95, Public Acts of Michigan 2015, which permitted the county to form the authority to issue revenue bonds in accordance with Act 94, Public Acts of Michigan 1933 as amended. The proposed resolution will authorize a bond issuance by the authority in an amount not to exceed $145 million of Series 2020 revenue bonds, approval of the authority's plan of financing as required by Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code for bonds issued to finance projects with private business use. The pledge of the county's limited tax full faith and credit on the bonds. The county treasurer to execute a certificate of the county to comply with the continuing disclosure. The county administrator and chairperson of the Board of Commissioners to prepare and approve portions of the official statement that pertain to the county and the execution of all other documents as necessary in order to close on the issuance of the proposed bond issuance. The bond proceeds will be used to pay for 2 projects, including the construction of 8 new gates on Concourse A, estimated at $79 million, and a new parking structure to be utilized by the rental car agencies, estimated at $61 million. Staff anticipates closing on the bonds in May of 2020. Bond counsel has reviewed all documents.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I hope that my line of questioning does not seem critical of this idea. I very much see the value in it, but given the light of the market volatility that has occurred through the outbreak, I'm just wondering, has the projections of bond servicing baked into account variables like this? What's being done to ensure that the debt service can be paid throughout the life of these bonds, since we're pledging our full faith and credit?
Jeff Dowd is here to answer that. And the airport, you're out there as well. Can we allow them to also comment?
Yeah, why don't we start with Jeff, and then we'll go ahead and move to the airport. So go ahead, Jeff.
So, yeah, Brian and I talked about this very issue actually, and and Brian can go over the finances of it. You know, they have obviously seen a big decline in their travel, just like everyone that realizes across the world and across the country. This doesn't necessarily mean we have to close on the bonds. So this project may be delayed, but this gives us the authority to actually, continue the process. So I think Brian probably has more information on if he's rerun the estimates yet. Brian?
Okay, can we
Yes,
unmute the airport?
Are you ready?
Yep, go
Can you
ahead.
hear me?
Yep.
This is Brian Picard, the CFO at the airport. Thanks for having us. Yeah, obviously there's a lot going on here right now. And the plan currently is that we're not going to look at issuing this debt until the end of May, maybe into June. All this is somewhat in flux based on what's going on now. We obviously are seeing a decline right now in travel. The airport as well as the airlines are asking for a bailout, so we're looking for possibly something on that front as well. And actually, we are in design for these projects, and we are not planning on moving forward with the projects until we know that we're back to being more stable in what's going on here with traffic.
Thank you. If anything, just procedurally, even if we pass it through committee, given the fluctuations, would it be prescient or wise at all to delay a final vote of the full board until some of those questions have been answered, especially if they're pushing back the timeline?
Well, this brings it to the full board. So if the full board doesn't have a majority yes, then that takes it down.
Not necessarily suggesting a denial, but rather, if I'm recalling procedurally, it doesn't have to be taken up at the next board agenda. It could be taken up, if we have a board meeting in April or closer to the deadline that we're looking at. I very much see the value in this. I want to make sure that we're putting in as many safeguards as possible.
Hey, Linda?
Under our standing rules, the board chair sets the agenda. So that would be a call of the board chair as to which agenda to place any particular item coming out of a standing committee onto.
Perfect. Thank you.
But as Jeff communicated, we are giving latitude to the airport to delay.
Yep.
This gives the opportunity to issue. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will execute based on the current conditions. This pushes us in an opportunity position. It's what this will do.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Morgan.
Yeah, I see the opportunity, and I think the airport will keep their fiduciary responsibility as we go through this process. So we have a history. If you remember, I signed a $120 million bond right in the height of the recession to build the first parking garage. So it worked out. Sometimes timing is everything, and this may work out to be a very good timing event for the airport. It's unfortunate that we're in the situation we're in now. I wish we would have probably teed this up a little earlier, but having said that, I'm totally confident that the airport management and staff and the board takes the responsibility very seriously as far as our fiduciary responsibility.
Hey, Commissioner Wooden?
Um,
I'm sorry, Commissioner Womack.
Yes, I agree with Roger that our history with the airport has just been excellent, especially when it comes to them meeting their financial responsibilities on things they undertake. But I also want to ask the airport if we already have international flights have been suspended. If the airport was to shut down for a minimum of 1 month, what would be the projected losses for the airport?
This is Torrey Richardson, President and CEO of the Airport Authority. So we haven't run the projected losses of a 30-day shutdown. We are in continual conversation, though, with the stakeholders at the national level on what this could be. If they did that, it's highly unlikely that it would happen. But we do have cash reserves that would help us in this case. And again, it would only be a temporary issue for us before the revenue generation would continue. But we do have 3 months contingency on hand to cover a situation like that. We do not have international flights right now, so the impact of the international arrivals and departures isn't as significant of a hit to us right now, but the domestic surely is. And we do see that this is more or less a temporary issue for us. We've gone back and looked at all sorts of modeling based on, the events of 9/11 and SARS and other types of incidents that have impacted our business, and have known that West Michigan has recovered quite quickly and quite strong to those prior events. Obviously, nobody's got a crystal ball right now to see what the modeling of this one would look like. But to Commissioner Morgan's point, we do take our fiduciary responsibility very seriously. Obviously, we would not build any of these projects if there is not a need for us to do that. And so if something changes between now and the end of May, we are continuing to reassess the situation and would decide on a go or no go decision later about whether we needed to build as much or build at all of these facilities.
Okay, I want to thank the airport and our staff, Jeff Dode, and everybody that's been proactive on looking at the projections in light of the coronavirus breakout. Thank you for your answers today.
Commissioner Antor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really appreciate all the concern being shown here about the future. Obviously, we don't know at this point what it looks like. The one thing we do know, though, is the fact that we have maintained our AAA bond rating, which I know some people don't like talking about that all the time, but these are the reasons why that's so important, because being fiscally conservative, making sure we take care of the people's money, that's the top standard, and we've been able to maintain that. So I agree with Commissioner Bukowski. The surety bond seems a little crazy when we're sitting at the top of the world with this AAA, but the money we'll save in this project, obviously, it's huge. So I just wanted to say it's something always got to keep our eyes on, good times and bad, to maintain that AAA.
Okay, Commissioner Bukowski?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, in spite of my complaints about spending $7,500, I don't have any complaints about spending $145 million. That when the airport showed us the renderings and the video of this, again, not at all to sound too much like a homer at the moment, and I understand totally the concerns, and I trust Jeff and his staff and the airport and their staff about the numbers on this. It really, I believe, a couple, 3 years from now, or however long it takes Roger to build this, that again, we're going to look back and just say it really moves our airport up a significant notch, which is massive for our community. So hopefully, again, in a month or two, when Corona's in the rearview mirror and things start ramping back up towards what we called normal, we're going to be really excited more and more about this project on what it's going to do. So all the fiscal concerns definitely noted and supported. At the same time, this is really cool for our community, and that we have the means to do it. So thank you to the airport board and airport staff.
See, I did have a crystal ball. Commissioner Wooden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to echo the comments previously and hope that my questions are not at all seen as a desire not to support this. I have every intention of supporting it. It just, we are in a brave new world. And so knowing what safeguards we have in place over the next few months, just to ensure that we are protected as we make this valuable step forward in an investment. I'm just glad to hear staff's thoughts, the airport's thoughts, as well as our former chair and current airport board representative speak to that, and why I'll be voting for this measure.
Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 5 from the Health Department. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $118,000 from the Lakeshore Regional Entity to the 2019-20 Health Fund budget. The Lakeshore Regional Entity has made available the $118,000 to provide substance use prevention programs within the county. These programs previously were provided by Cherry Health, but Cherry Health decided to eliminate these programs effective March 31, 2020, Because the Health Department currently offers similar substance use prevention programs, LRE requests that the Health Department expand its services as of April 1, 2020. There are several programs that are listed here. You can see those programs which it will affect. Support to support the work required by the LRE, one full-time public health educator position will be created. The cost of salary and benefits for the position is $40,500 for 6 months. In addition, there's a 0.05 FTE of an existing health program supervisor, a 0.4 FTE of an existing health educator, and a 0.036 FTE of an existing clerk, which will be charged for the grant. Total cost for these positions for the 6-month grant period are $42,428. Travel supplies and contractual and overhead costs are $34,900. The grant period is April 1, 2020 to September 30, 2020. If funding is eliminated or increased, the positions will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to our policies on grants and contracts and donations. Corporate Counsel has reviewed and approved all documents as to form will review and approve all documents as to form prior to signature. The Legislative and Human Resources Committee approved this request at its March 10th meeting.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Support. Okay, moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion? All right, seeing none, Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was curious, how long had Cherry Health previously been a part of this?
Thank you for your question, Commissioner. I've been in public health for about 23 years, and that's about how many years that I know of that Cherry Health has been in the business of providing substance use prevention services.
I was just curious, now that's quite a bit of money. Is the amount of service that they're providing, is that exceeding the amount of money they're being funded? Is that why they're opting out, you know?
No, the reason why they're opting out is when there was a merger for Cherry Health to bring under their umbrella both, well, they've always been primary care, but to bring under their umbrella substance use prevention and other behavioral health services, in addition to treatment, that one of those organizations brought with it prevention. So prevention is only a small aspect of all the services that Cherry Health is providing across the county. So it was just more of a business decision that prevention is not really in their wheelhouse, and it might be better suited for agencies that have more of that type of programming, like the health department.
So our health department's prepared and ready to roll on this? They get a lot on their plate right now.
Yes, we do, but we have a substance use prevention education team that also receive dollars and resources from the LRE, so it will be a nice added value to our other offerings to schools and communities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 6, and we have 10 to get through. So let's go with the next one. Wayman.
Yes, it's a request to accept and appropriate $150,000 from the Comstock Park Downtown Development Authority and the Dwight Lydell Park Mill Creek Restoration CIP project. The Board of Commissioners previously approved an appropriated $1.8 million. $838,000 of that came from the general fund and $1 million from the state of Michigan to the Dwight Lydell Park Mill Creek Restoration CIP projects to address drainage problems within the park that cause flooding, to naturalize and improve access to Mill Creek, and to improve accessibility to the trail system. At its meeting on February 19, 2020, the Comstock Park DDA approved a contribution of $150,000 toward the construction of a bridge in the park that leads to Comstock Park branch of the Kent District Library. The Parks Department is requesting an additional $150,000 to be appropriated from the Comstock Park DDA to the Dwight Lydell Park Mill Creek Restoration Project in the CIP fund.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Antor.
Sorry, Madam Chair, but I got another one on this one. It seems like about 8 to 10 years ago, we had addressed this park with quite a bit of money. And I don't know if maybe my memory's failing, but I was wondering if somebody could inform me as to where that money went.
Commissioner Antor, I have Dan DeLoof, our park superintendent, and Brian Mulligan, our development manager here. They can talk about this project.
Thank
the money that was spent a few years ago, I believe you're talking about, was to add parking, relocate some parking, expand some parking. We also removed the existing maintenance building that was 70 to 80 years old and relocated that. So this will be kind of like a phase 2 of the project.
Will this be the last phase, you know?
At this point, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item 7 from the Parks. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request to accept and appropriate an additional $100,000 from the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, which is the MEGLE for abbreviated, to the Dwight Lydell Park Creek Restoration CIP project. The Board of Commissioners previously approved $1.8 million from the general fund and $1 million from the state of Michigan to the Dwight Lydell Park Mill Creek Restoration CIP project to address drainage problems within the park that cause flooding, to naturalize and improve access to Mill Creek, and to improve accessibility on the trail system. The state has awarded an additional $100,000 to the Parks Department so that a properly sized flood bench can be installed along Mill Creek. These funds will be used to expand the size and length of the originally proposed flood benches, vegetate these flood benches, reroute park pathways, and add proper storm water drainage. The Parks Department is requesting an additional $100,000 to be appropriated from the MEGL to the Dwight Lydell Park Mill Creek Restoration Project in the CIP fund. The agreement has been reviewed and approved as to form by corporate counsel.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion. We'll start with Commissioner Morgan.
Hey, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a point of clarification now. We had previously appropriated $838,000 from our general fund and about $1 million something from the state. Was that a grant, and did we help procure that grant, or did that just show up?
Brian Mulligan from our Parks Department can answer that for you.
Hi, Brian.
Hi. So we have 2 grants that are going toward this project, around $800,000 from Non-Point Source grant, and then about $250 from Aquatic Habitat. So over $1 million in grant funding. If you guys are familiar with Dwight Lydell Park, the creek is channelized by retaining walls. Those walls are over 100 years old and they're ready to fall in. So that's really what this project is doing, is getting rid of those walls.
So my question is, you went after those grants as part
Correct.
of
Yeah, we've been working on this for 4 years.
I just want to give some thanks or credit where credit's due.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
So, and if memory serves, which it's doing less these days, there was actually 2 phases to the project, and we approved putting them together. And I recall it was characterized as you'd only go into the creek once instead of twice. And so reading this, you haven't gone in the creek yet, correct?
No, we have not gone into the creek yet. This summer,
Okay.
in today in the purchase order, you saw agreement.
Okay.
For like construction. So this summer, the park we've shared will be closed, and the reconstruction of this park will happen, and it'll be a major improvement.
No, correct. I mean, I understood and agree with. I just assumed it was done. And so you're saying it hasn't even started yet.
No, we've been raising the money, like Commissioner Morgan said, through these grants and other opportunities.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
That's a great memory.
Anyone else?
Oh.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item 8 from Parks. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request to the Board of Commissioners to approve submission of a grant application to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund to acquire approximately 31.27 acres of property to create the Thornapple River Trail Landing and to commit to funding the required local match if awarded. The Parks Department has been working with Caledonia Township for several years to expand the county park system in southeast Kent County. Specifically, Caledonia Township has provided funding towards the purchase of the land for Two Rivers Park, which is 260 acres, and Thornapple Riverbend Green Space, which is 206 acres. These two parks comprise 466 acres of public land along the Thornapple River, an area where development pressures are strong and population is growing. Caledonia Township contacted the County Parks Department and proposed to assist in the acquisition of 31.27 acres to create the Thornapple River Trail Landing. The purchase would add 740 feet of riverfront property to create a formal drop-in, drop-off site for paddlers and tubers along the Thornapple River. This acquisition will also provide safe passage around the 84th Street Dam and give Caledonia Fire and Rescue public property access to the river. Two Rivers Park would serve as the one location to drop in, and Thornapple River Bend Green Space would serve as the site to disembark. Acquiring the parcel is estimated to cost $1 million based on a recent appraisal and is consistent with several objectives set forth in the park's Trails and Natural Areas Master Plan. The Parks Department seeks approval to submit a grant request to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund to fund 70% of the purchase price, with the remaining 30% coming from Caledonia Township and Kent County at 10%. Caledonia has also pledged to consider providing funding for park development. The final purchase price will be determined using the DNR appraisal process as required by the grant. An action request to accept the grant, appropriate grant and match funds, and authorize the purchase will be brought back to the Board of Commissioners if grant is approved. It is anticipated that the county will be notified in December 2020 if the application is successful. If awarded, funds would need to be expended within 2 years.
Wait a minute, we're on 8, not 9.
We'll
So
handle it.
If we could,
Let's-
can we do them out of order, Linda?
Yes.
All right, so let's do 9 and then we'll circle back to 8.
So moved for 9.
Okay.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Questions, comments, and discussion? Yes, Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Anytime we can get some valuable riverfront property like this for public use is a great thing. I'm glad to see that our Parks Department is working hard on the grants, and we're getting collaborative grant matching funds from the township and the county. So I just think this is wonderful for the residents of Kent, not only Caledonia, but Kent County.
Commissioner Brady.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is an awesome piece of property here. One thing I do have questions on, it looks like there's a couple buildings on the property. What is the plan for those?
So there's an existing house that would probably most likely be raised, and then there's 2 larger barns that we would look at possibly repurposing into restrooms or relocating for potential boathouse or open shelter.
Thanks.
Hey, Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. Totally agree. Awesome opportunity to purchase this awesome regional asset for us into the future. And my question is, hopefully once this is purchased with all the dollars coming together, when will it be developed for people like me to actually get into the river? Because when we do the flat river, me and my family, it's just really, it's getting tougher to get in a kayak where there is no developed place at White's Bridge. I know that's a different county, but we need this developed. So when's that timeline?
So we have Brian Harrison here, the township supervisor as well. We've been actually talking directly about that because there's a large demand right now where people park illegally in this area to access the river. So we anticipate if we're able to acquire the property, the township and the county will be working relatively quickly to get parking lot assets up and so that it can be used. That's our answer to that at this point, is that we understand that from the township's perspective, there's an urgency to try to create a better drop-in site in this area.
Awesome. Thank you.
Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to echo the previous comments and especially the matching with our local government, especially the fact that they're coming in at a higher rate even than we are for this grant matching dollars, and additionally the pledge from the township to provide or consider providing funding for the park development. These are the kinds of partnerships I very much enjoy seeing. So thank you.
Hey, I'm just going to make a quick comment that there are some additional steps that the Park Foundation is looking at. They may or may not act on it, but that doesn't impact this grant. Is that correct, Matthew?
Correct. We'll be submitting this trust fund application regardless if the Parks Foundation is able to support some additional funding right now towards this. So we will be submitting.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Let's go back to item 8 from the Parks Department. Wayman?
Yes, this is a request to approve the leasing of a parking lot at Dwight Lydell Park on a non-exclusive basis to Plainfield Charter Township and the Comstock Park Downtown Development Authority, and to authorize board chair or designee to sign all related documents. As a part of the Dwight Lydell Park, the county owns property that is used as parking area. The parking is located close to the downtown area of Comstock Park. The DDA and Plainfield Township have approached the county proposing a 99-year lease arrangement whereby the DDA and Township will maintain the parking lot in exchange for the ability of people to use it for easy access to both the park and the businesses in Comstock Park. Because the park has been developed using money from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund grant, no commercial use of the lot will be allowed. There will be no fees for parking. There's other parking available at the park for those wishing to use it in addition to the parking area that the DDA and Plainfield Township wish to lease. Corporate Counsel has reviewed and approved the lease document.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Yes, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one clarifying question. I see in the second bullet that the DDA and the township are agreeing to maintain the parking lot in exchange for the access. I'm assuming that's going to be baked into the lease as an obligation.
Yes, Commissioner, it will.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm assuming they've been using this all along, or is it signed just for park use right now?
They have been using it currently, but what the lease agreement does is it ensures that the DDA will take care of the snow cleaning all winter long, and then maintenance on the parking lot because many of their patrons use it. So from our perspective, it helps us out and it helps the DDA out by getting consistency in the maintenance and keeping it open with snow removal and whatnot.
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty good deal. I drive by there all the time. I guess I haven't noted necessarily a lot of use in the park during the week, but it's mostly a weekend warrior type of place. So I guess it'll work out well. Have we studied it all though, just to see what the demand is for things other than park participants? And you know, is this going to bite us 20 years from now, I guess?
So I think we've been using this interchangeably between the park and the Downtown Development Authority, those businesses, for a long time. So I don't think it'll bite us in the future. There's so much capacity in that neighborhood. What we look at this as an opportunity for the township to help own the operation of the park and the maintenance of this parking lot that their businesses benefit from. So
Good.
Hopefully
That's fine. Thank you, Matthew.
Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. So the lease payment is simply they're assuming the responsibility for the maintenance for the parking lot? Like what are they paying for the lease?
it's $1, Commissioner.
Okay.
And they are then assuming the snow plowing as well as the maintenance on the parking lot.
So like, I mean, all the maintenance in the asphalt, I mean, it's going to be resealed in this 99-year period a few times.
Correct.
So, all right. Yeah, I'll leave my comments there.
Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm asking about the liability. Who's responsible for the liability if something happens inside of the park or inside of the parking area?
The liability is one of the issues addressed in the lease, Commissioner, and it will shift to the other parties away from the county. We will obviously maintain it as a county-owned property, so it will still be within our standard risk management portfolio.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That brings us to item 10, also from Parks. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request to the board to approve submission of a grant application to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Fund to acquire approximately 33.8 acres of property to expand Thornapple River Bend green space and to commit funding the required local match if awarded. The Parks Department has been working with Caledonia for several years to expand the county park system in Kent County. Specifically, the township has provided funding towards the purchase of land for Two Rivers Park and Thornapple River Bend green space. These two parks comprise of 466 acres of public land along the Thornapple River, where development pressures are strong and population is growing. Caledonia Township contacted the county and proposed to assist in the acquisition of 33.8 acres adjacent to Thornapple River Bend green space. The purchase would add 690 feet of riverfront property to the existing 1.2 miles of frontage. Acquiring the parcel is estimated to cost $671,000 based on recent appraisal and is consistent with several objectives set forth in the park's Trails and Natural Areas Master Plan. The Parks Department seeks approval to submit a grant to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund to fund 70% of the purchase price, with the remaining 30% coming from Caledonia Township and 10% coming from the county. Caledonia has also pledged to consider providing funding for park development. The final purchase price will be determined using the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund appraisal process as required by the grant. An action request to accept the grant, appropriate the grant, and match funds, and authorize to purchase will be brought back to the Board of Commissioners if the grant is approved. It's anticipated that the county will be notified in December of 2020 if the application is successful. If awarded, funds will need to be expended within 2 years of the signed project agreement with the Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund.
Thank you, Wim. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, and this is the one that is the part where the Kent County Parks Foundation is looking at potentially assisting. It's not the landing.
It's actually the landing.
It is the landing?
Yep, it's the
All
landing.
right.
Yep.
All right, so we're good. Anyone else for questions, comments, and discussion? We'll go with Commissioner Morgan.
Just a comment, Madam Chair. Thank you. Just really appreciate the fact that our Parks Department gets after some of these grants, and it's a loose ball. And I just really appreciate our change in attitude over the years of going after some of these grants to secure them. And I think it's just been a huge factor in us being able to acquire some of these parks. So congratulations to the Parks Department.
Commissioner Brevi.
Thank you, Chair. I just also wanted to commend Caledonia Township and Supervisor Harrison for working with the Parks Department. Caledonia has a significant amount of park land and has continued to grow over the years that I've been serving. So I appreciate that, and I love having that in our community. And I hope that all of the commissioners and residents will get a chance to come out and check it out someday.
Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. What is and definitely support all what was said about this purchase and the expansion. Is there within the master plan additional parcels that are hoped to be added to this through the years, or is it just, yeah?
So Commissioner Volkowski, I'll talk real quick and then turn it over to Dan. This park is one of the two that we are master planning this spring. The other one being Waffle Park. So part of that discussion will happen with the residents and the leadership from that part of the county. But Dan can talk about what their future ideas are for more property.
This particular park, there has been some conversations with the next property owner to the south, and that's come from Brian Harrison, Caledonia Township. So he's been in contact with those neighbors. The same as the 84th Street property. There has been some discussion about approaching the neighbor to the south as well. So it's something we're continuously looking at.
But in the sense that we're like, this is the shape we would like the park to be and the size we would like it to be, and these 2 or 3 or one more parcels, or we're just going to kind of add as they come along? I mean, what is that thinking to keep growing out, if that makes sense?
Yes, it does. So Thornapple River Bend, there's the current parcel that we're talking about right now, and then there's one more to the south, and then that would most likely be the end of where we're at, just based on topography and who would be willing to sell to us.
Okay.
And that would be the same as the 84th Street property as well.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. That brings us to item number 11, Commissioner Miscellaneous. Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn. Our next meeting date is Tuesday, March 31st at 8:30 a.m. And we will see as things change and develop how that will roll. But thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Appreciate the confidence.
Appreciate the comments.